So in today's video, we're going to talk all about color formulation. One of the main things that I hear that stylists struggle with is, or when they're just getting out of school, is how to formulate color. They're unsure, it makes them nervous. So we're just going to go over some simple things to kind of guide you and help you through the process. Now there's a couple things that we need to remember. All color does the same exact thing. We're lifting and we're depositing. So there are a couple things that you really need to know. Well, not that you really need to know, that you need to know. You need to know how many levels are you lifting? Are you just depositing? Are you enhancing or are you canceling out tones? And you really just need those few things in order to formulate and figure out what type of color application you're going to do. Keep in mind, all color does do the same thing, but each color line is going to have their different personalities. So some color lines may run warm, some may run cool. Some color lines are, 100% gray coverage. You do not have to add anything into them. You can get gray coverage with all the tones. Other color lines, you need to add in a neutral in order to cover gray. Otherwise, it turns out translucent. So those are a couple things you need to know, is like the basic personality of your color line. But other than that, it's super simple. So back to beauty school basics. The texture of the hair is very important. Your coarser hair is going to be harder to cover and it's not going to be as dark. Finer hair is going to pull darker. And the reason is that coarse hair has a thicker strand, finer hair is smaller. So when you're adding color molecules into a thicker strand, it's not going to look as dark compared to a smaller strand. If you put 10 color molecules in this size and 10 molecules in this size, obviously the darkness is going to be completely different. So that is why knowing the texture is so important. Also, coarse hair is a little bit more resistant. So say you are depositing color on somebody. For somebody with fine hair, you may only need to use 10 volume, but with coarse hair, you may need to use a developer that's going to open that cuticle a little bit more in order to get the colors to actually get into the color strand. So that is why your texture of hair is so important. We're also going to go into levels of gray. Knowing your percentage of gray is very important, and the reason why knowing your percentage of gray is because obviously if you're lifting, if they're only 25% gray, there is a lot of natural pigment in here, which means that you can expose underlying warm pigments if you are lifting, compared to somebody who is 75% gray, who is, only has 25% of their natural tone. You would use a cooler tone on the 25%. If you were to use that same formula on the 75%, you may get a very ashy tone. So level of gray is so important. Also, the more gray somebody has, the coarser their texture can be. As people age and their texture and their gray becomes more predominant, that it really does impact their texture. So keep that in mind as well. So now we're going to go into levels of lift. Here is our different levels. Whenever I was formulating, and I still even use this now, whenever I was formulating in the past and I was lifting somebody's hair, so say someone was a level 4 and they wanted to get to a level 7, I would literally start at my level 4 and I would count 1, 2, 3. So you know that you need at least 30 volume in order to get the level 7. So that is an amazing tool. Also, opposite side, which is great for toning as well. This is going to be your underlying exposed pigment. So if we are at a level 7 and we just pop our way up, your underlying pigment is a yellow-orange, which means you are going to need a blue-violet in order to cancel this out and in order to make a cool tone. So that's if you are canceling and making it neutral. If you are enhancing the warmth, that's a whole different story. If you can enhance warmth by adding golds, adding coppers, and adding your red tones. But this is how I utilize this exact little thing. Now, if your color line does not have one of these that pop out, most color lines will have a page that has this same information in there, and it's definitely a tool that I use all the time. Whenever I'm matching color, I'm always utilizing my swatch book. Now, I may not show this to clients because, as we know, like if we do a 1003 on somebody, which is a neutral ash, this is Wella, it's not going to turn out like the swatch. So I utilize the swatch book for my own individual reasons. Also, most color lines are true to swatch. So we have several different color lines in the salon. Some run darker, some run lighter. So I will always use my swatch in order to figure out the tone and also to figure out what tonality I want to use. Now, whenever I am trying to figure out what a client's level is, I am inserting this into their hair, and whichever one disappears within their hair is the level or tone that they are. So keep that in mind. This is just a quick video to give you just a little recap on how to formulate. When we're formulating toners also, we always want to make sure that if we are at a level 7 and we're toning the hair, you have to tone it on level. So that means if they're a level 7, you have to use a level 7 toner in order to get cool results that are going to tone down the hair. I cannot pull to a 7 and put a 9 on there. It's not going to do anything. So making sure that we are formulating our toners properly is also very important. Tone on tone. If you pull a 10, you can use a 10. If you pull a 10, you could use a 9. If you pull a 10, you can use an 8. So that is also something that you want to keep in mind. So I hope this video was helpful for you. This is just a simple way to figure out how to color match and how to use color. When you are covering gray and you are doing your hair line, if they have a normal texture hairline, I will always hit the front area first and their part line. And you always want to make sure that you are following directions with your manufacturers. Most of the time when you are thinking about processing time, it's usually 15 added on to the developer. So if you're using 10 volume, add 15, it's 25 minutes. If you're using 20 volume, add 15, it's 35-minute processing, and so on. So most manufacturers work in that way. Again, if you're using 40 volume and you're adding 15, that's almost a full hour of processing time. So really making sure that we're letting our color sit on long enough. When you have a 40 volume developer, it needs more time to lift and deposit. So you need to make sure that you're following your manufacturer's guidelines. If you guys have any questions on color formulation, please comment below. I would love to answer them for you, and you have a great day.